Welcome into a solo edition of Hand Raised Guys presented by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Won't go super long tonight. That's what she said. We will follow along on the college football playoff ranking show, see where the Rebels land. My prediction, and it is quasi-educated, is number 13, which is going to put Ole Miss in a position where, assuming it beats Mississippi State on Friday afternoon, the Rebels are going to need some help. At least 2 pieces of help, probably 3 pieces of help. There's no sense in joking with each other and kidding each other at this point. Probably will need good bit of chaos on Saturday, but hey, crazier things have happened. So we'll see where they are. Maybe the committee will surprise me and put Ole Miss ahead of Alabama, and maybe they'll reevaluate if there's chaos next Sunday and go from there. We'll have to see. A lot of games to talk about, to keep an eye on, so we'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want to tell you that we're always brought to you on this show by our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. I've been inside most of today taping podcast. We just had Butcher versus the dance instructor. Did a live stream. I think it's the first one of those we've ever done on that show after 5 years. Did that one. Taped multiple interviews today for MPW Digital Extra, which will air at 11 a.m. tomorrow. A lot of good stuff on it. Pete's Pigskin Preview is going to air at 2 tomorrow, followed by McCready and Siskey. Probably going to be A.J. McCarron filling in for me, but Tyler will be with you on MPW Digital. And then we'll have shows Friday after the game and that kind of thing. I'm watching the end of Memphis, Michigan State basketball in the Maui Invitational. So like I was saying, I've been inside all day. It's cold outside. If you've not had your heating element all checked out, get it ready to go. You need to get in touch with the people at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, that area, get in touch with Comer. 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, South Haven, Memphis, those areas, get in touch with our friends at Southern. 662-429-4429. Comer, Southern, they'll come out, they'll check out your unit, make sure that you're good to go. If you're not, they'll get you ready because you know the cold weather's coming. Actually, some really cold temperatures expected first part of next week, which is right on schedule for the start of soccer district play when it's the coldest spot on earth at a soccer stadium. So all that coming your way on the show. The guest will join on the Campbell Clinic Hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit CampbellClinicOxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111. I'm in the Clark Ford Studios, by the way. Clark Ford in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for my friend Corey Clark. I've been in contact with Corey today about an automobile that we're working on. So he'll do that for you too. He always says he wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. They like to build a long-term relationship with people. Not just me, not just the people that he advertises with, but people like you guys. When you call in, you're starting a relationship with him. 662-257-1900. And let's see, what else do I need to touch on before we get into the football show? 13.5 seconds left out in Maui, Memphis, trying to put away the Spartans. Memphis 5-0 so far on the young season. Michigan State 5-1 right now. Memphis trying to improve to 6-0. Penny Hardaway and the gang off to a good start in Memphis, wearing just the weirdest It's an awful uniform. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, this will be a thank you. This will be a big Blue Sky Live. Probably put it up Thursday. That's my guess. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? I don't know. Doesn't matter. We'll put it up. Blue Sky, if you're coming in this weekend for the Egg Bowl, stop by, or to coming into Oxford, do some shopping, Black Friday shopping, Egg Bowl, both. Maybe you're coming around Stick and Still Saturday. Stop by Blue Sky in Oxford, or any Blue Sky throughout Mississippi. You can fill up outside. You Fill up inside as well. Great beer selection, snacks, plate lunches, all of those things at Blue Sky throughout Mississippi and in Oxford. Memphis has put away Michigan State 71-63 to improve to 6-0. So waiting for the show now. The show should be getting started here soon. I think Duke plays later tonight on TV. Duke and Kansas from Las Vegas, it looked like, which is a big college basketball game. If you haven't had a chance to see Cooper Flagg, you should. Plays for Duke. Freshman from Maine, will be one of the first 1 or 2 picks in the NBA draft in June. So I'll take care of this one real quick before we get rolling. They're about to get started. You've had Wendy's Nugs dipped in sauce. Have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love. They turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper. Only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. All right, so get started on this. By the way, phone line's open, 662-259-8563. I didn't announce this show ahead of time. I really didn't intend to do it until 30 minutes ago. So if you have a call, you can call. If you're not, it's okay. We'll keep each other company through the selection show, talk about it a little bit, see what we think it might mean, and go from there. Hope everyone's having a wonderful holiday. Hope your family is getting to you safely, or you're getting to your family safely. One of my daughters is home, Caroline. Campbell comes home tomorrow, so it's going to be nice tomorrow to have everybody under the same roof for the first time in a long time. Yeah, every time they show the Ole Miss Florida highlights, you go, man, really let one get away. And the more you talk to people nationally, I was talking to Ryan Brown today. I talked to Taylor McGregor of ESPN. The more you talk to people nationally, it's that Kentucky game. It's that Kentucky game that just keeps coming up. If you change nothing for Ole Miss but that, Kentucky. Even if you lose at LSU, even if you keep the loss at Florida, it's the Kentucky game. If you reverse that one and just make it 20-17 Ole Miss instead of 20-17 Kentucky, Ole Miss is in the tournament today. No doubt. Zero doubt. That's the worst part. And now if you don't get in, that's hey, who do we have? Hey, caller, who do we have?
Mr. McCready, this is Bo from Biloxi.
Bo, what's up, man? How are you?
How you doing? I got your Twitter feed. I said, dang, he's putting the show on tonight.
Yeah, I wasn't planning to, and then I thought, well, probably not doing one tomorrow night. Definitely not doing one Thursday night. So I thought, why don't we just knock it out? We'll watch this show together and see what happens, and see where the Rebels are, and see where the rest of the SEC is, and kind of go from there.
All right. Well, listen, I want to tell you, I appreciate you and everything you do. I listen to just about everything you do. I drive a delivery truck, and you get me through 10-hour days.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Do you mind saying who you work for?
I work for FedEx in Biloxi here on the coast.
Oh, okay. I bet sometimes.
And it is. Let me tell you what. It is not cold down here. It is hot down here.
Yeah, I've told people we lived in Mobile for a long time and on the Gulf Coast for a long time, and I loved it. But the one thing I didn't love, and I was in the minority. People told me I was crazy, but I did not love the constant heat. I like the best thing about moving to Oxford from Mobile. I mean, there's a lot of good things, but the one thing that I've consistently loved is the seasons here. Like we get a winter here, and I like some winter. We get spring, we get fall. I can remember in Mobile, you get about 2 weeks of fall, about a day of winter, about 2 weeks of spring, and then basically 10 and a half months of summer. And sometimes it just kind of wore me down a little bit.
Well, look, one of the things I've been dying to ask you, I know you and myself have talked about Ted Lasso a lot.
Yeah.
So have you ever come across, because I've been listening, I haven't heard you reference it. Have you ever, remember the Allen Iverson practice. We talking about practice?
Yes.
Have you ever seen the Ted Lasso, Allen Iverson play off each other? There's a scene where Ted Lasso was talking to Jamie, and he is verbatim saying the exact same speech, and nobody picks up on it.
Yeah, I've heard it. Now I knew exactly what it was right away.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Bo, I was updating out loud in case people are listening tomorrow on this and aren't aware of the rankings. Colorado falls to 25. Kansas State's at 24. Illinois at 23. That's up 2 spots. UNLV up 2 spots to 22. Missouri up 2 spots to 21. Texas A&M loses at Auburn, falls 5 spots to 20. Although Texas A&M still has a path. They beat Texas and beat Georgia, and they're in. That's their only path. I picked up on that, Bo, when they did it. I thought it was cool. I mean, they did so many kind of subtle things on that show that I thought it was amazing. I thought the writing was brilliant. BYU falls 5 spots to 19. They're flying through the quick part of this before they get to the drama, I think.
Yeah.
BYU's out. I mean, they're not going to get there. Iowa State up 4 spots at 18. I don't think they can get there from where they are, Iowa State. But although Matt Campbell and Iowa State had a big-time season this year, silenced a lot of critics who kept saying the game had passed him by. John Summerall and Tulane up 3 spots to 17, and that's probably not enough. They probably needed a little bit more. They get Memphis on Thanksgiving night. They need a lot of chaos. Arizona State, by the way, controls their own destiny. They are 16th today, up 5 spots from 21 a week ago. Arizona State will play Arizona in Tucson this weekend. If they win, they go to the Big 12 title game. If they win the Big 12 title game, they will make the playoff as one of the top 4 seeds. South Carolina, up 3 spots to 15. I think you're going to see Clemson right here next. At 14, they're going to play each. No, Clemson's going to be a little higher up. I apologize. South Carolina up to 15, and a win over Clemson and some chaos away from getting into a conversation, and we can have this debate, and probably will have the debate if chaos happens about how you look at teams. All right, I was wrong on Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 14. Fell 5 spots after losing at Florida. The Rebels now 14. That's not good news. That means you need a lot of chaos. A lot of chaos. You need 3, 4, probably you need 4, at least 3 and probably 4 items of chaos. It's a lot to ask for.
I was hoping you were right.
I was too. It magnifies the missed opportunity. Alabama is not 12. Alabama's 13. Alabama fell 6 spots after their blowout loss in Norman. So Alabama's where I thought Ole Miss would be, where you need 2 and probably 3 pieces of chaos to get in. And I'm not sure if it came down to Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina, ultimately how they would evaluate those teams. It would be complicated. I'm assuming we're going to see Clemson here at 12.
It might come down to a brand.
It could. I mean, brand factors in. I mean, it does. It shouldn't, but it does. It does in everything in life. But, I mean, Ole Miss has that bad loss, yet Ole Miss beat South Carolina in Columbia by 24 points. Clemson's 12, as I thought they would be. The other disadvantage that Ole Miss has this weekend is they just play State, and State is so bad metrically and everything else that there's nothing you can do. Like, you can beat them by 60 points, and I don't know that it matters. Like, Alabama gets Auburn. You can get a little bit of juice out of that, I guess, if they just pounded Auburn. I think they could lose to Auburn. Carolina can gain here, right, because they go to Clemson and they play a team 3 spots ahead of them. If they were to beat Clemson and get to 9-3, it's another really nice win on their resume. I think they'd be a threat to jump Ole Miss and Alabama, just watching the way these metrics do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, look, I'm gonna get off so you can get into the heat of this. I just wanted to tell you again that I got MPW Digital on my podcast feed at number 1. So anything that pops up, it goes to the top, and I enjoy everything you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bo. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
You too, bro.
All right, Boise State's at 11. The Broncos just have to win. As long as they win, they're in. Maybe even in good spot where they get one of the top 4. I'm sure they'll talk about that in a minute. I can't if I turn the audio up on this in here, I'm going to get a copyright strike, so there's no point in doing that. So if they say anything fascinating, either call me or tell me in the stream, and we'll go from there. So Boise State's 11. Again, Ole Miss 14, falling 5 spots. Indiana falls 5 spots and is now 10. Indiana falls to a spot where they're probably going to be okay. Indiana plays Purdue this weekend. Indiana did not pass the eye test last week. They just didn't. SMU at 9. SMU rising. They're up 4 spots from a week ago to 9. They do kind of pass the eye test. They look the part. Rhett Lashley's done a phenomenal job with them. Yeah, I'm not getting into all that today. So SMU at 9. If they win, they probably have to win the ACC to get in. Tennessee jumps 3 spots. They jump to 9. They're 9-2 overall. They get Vanderbilt in Nashville on Saturday. So they're at 8. So Tennessee win and in, losing out. It's pretty simple. If you look at the math, if Tennessee loses in Nashville, they're going to fall. If they win, they're in. 10-2 in this league should get you in, and that's what Alabama and Ole Miss are kicking themselves today because they are right there. Georgia jumps 3 spots. Georgia's 9-2. They play Georgia Tech. So here's what's interesting. If you're trying to figure out chaos, you are a Yellow Jacket fan. A Georgia loss to Georgia Tech would drop them, if we're going by the records, 4 or 5 spots. Georgia plays the winner of Texas A&M in Atlanta in the SEC title game. But a loss to Georgia Tech would put them on the precipice, I think. I don't know what happens with that championship game. If you had 3-loss Georgia and 3-loss Texas A&M, what that would look like, I don't know. Miami up 2 spots to 6. So a Miami SMU ACC final. Miami's got a tough spot on Saturday, by the way. They play at Syracuse. I think it's a danger spot for the Canes. I really do. They've been digging these holes and coming back behind Cam Ward. And sometimes teams go Syracuse and that place gets weird. So I think Syracuse is capable of doing it. Miami, though, up 2 spots, a win, and they're in, obviously. A loss, and it might get interesting. I don't know that they could – if they lost, I think they would have to beat Tennessee to get in. Notre Dame is the 5. They're up 1 spot from last week. They play at USC. I still think if Notre Dame loses at Southern Cal on Saturday, they'll fall out. I think 2 losses, with one of those losses being Northern Illinois, would knock them out. Yeah, I agree with Mark. He says Purdue is worse than Mississippi State by a lot. I agree. Purdue's bad. Listen, I think the Big Ten's bad, but I don't think it's going to matter. Penn State, speaking of the Big Ten, 10-1. Who they have left? Rutgers or somebody? They're at 4. They're safe. Texas is at 3. Texas is safe. You know the rest. Ohio State's going to be 2. Oregon is going to be 1. Sure enough. I mean, no surprise. Oregon's 11-0. Oregon and Ohio State on their way to playing each other in the Big Ten title game. Very clearly, the winner will be the 1. The loser will be the 5 and will host the 12. First team out is Clemson. The second team out is Alabama. If the tournament were played today, Boise State would be the 4. Texas would be Boise State would be the 4. Miami would be the 3. Texas would be the 2. Oregon would be the 1. Of course, there's more games to play. That will work itself out. If the tournament started today, Arizona State would be the 12. They would travel to Columbus, Ohio to play Ohio State as the 5. So in this, ESPN is projecting Oregon to beat Ohio State in this scenario. If you'd flip it the other way around, you'd have a Tennessee-Georgia SEC game in Athens in a 9-8. The winner would play Oregon. You'd have Indiana as the 11 playing playing 6-seeded Penn State in College Station or Happy Valley, whatever the hell it's called. Winner would go to Ohio, and you'd have SMU traveling to South Bend to play Notre Dame in the other on-campus game. I'll just tell you, I think if they're not going to do 2 SEC and 2 Big Ten, they would just move that a line to get 2 SEC Big Ten games, my opinion. So there you have it. It's not good news for Ole Miss. Yeah, I agree with Mark. He says, I don't think the committee will have leagues playing each other in round 1. I agree completely. They're just looking at the numbers today. And here, the committee can do this today with this particular projection, this particular ranking, because it's not binding. There are games left. There's no reason for them to steer into whatever controversy might come from this. They can wait and do that after the championship games. I guess they'll do a show on this coming Tuesday. They'll milk this one more time, and then they'll play the championship games and put out the final one, and we'll go from there. I assume that's the plan. I haven't kept up. It's got to be a tough blow for Ole Miss to watch this, for Alabama to watch this today, knowing they controlled their own destiny and went on the road in this league, and this league is hard to win on the road. They went on the road in this league and just did not get it done. Yeah, I agree with Mark. I still agree with Mark. Even after what happened, I still think Ole Miss is one of 5, maybe 6, probably 5 teams that had the depth to go all the way in this tournament. But you can't lose crazy games like the one they lost to Kentucky. I mean, I just beat that horse to death. It's probably what I'll write about on Friday. Ole Miss is going to play Mississippi State on Friday afternoon. I anticipate a blowout. And I don't know what you write. I mean, you can do the thing where you write about how it's senior day and this group won a whole lot of games and did a whole lot of good. And they did. Absolutely did. Won a ton of games. Did a ton of good. Won 10 games in 2022. Then 8. Or I get my years wrong. 10 games in 2021, 8 in 2022, and then 11 last season. Won the Peach Bowl. Had a off-season full of respect and hype, and they've lived up to it on the field except for a handful of plays. And if they just won one of those 3 games that they lost, just one of them, you'd be where Tennessee is right now. Probably hosting a playoff game, but certainly in a playoff game. And that's going to be a difficult pill to swallow for Ole Miss fans, for the program, for Lane Kiffin. It's a tough spot because it's not where you crater and you look in the mirror and go, this is awful. We have to completely change everything. It's not that at all. You were kind of right there. You needed to be a little better up front, or a lot better up front. You misevaluated the running back situation, but you were right there. And defensively, metrically, you're a championship caliber team with a 3rd-year starting quarterback who had a hell of a season. That's tough. So, see, I think if Tennessee is indeed the 9, I think they would move Tennessee down a line to 10. And I think they would move Indiana, in this case. I don't know what they'd do. They'd fix it where Tennessee and Georgia did not play each other, and Indiana and Penn State did not play each other. Maybe they move Georgia up to the 7. If you do that, you give another SEC home game, and Tennessee ain't losing at home. Tennessee the 7. You give Georgia the 7. I don't know. They probably want a game in South Bend, assuming that Notre Dame wins. I guess you could move SMU to the 11, Indiana to the 10. Or you could move Indiana to the 12, which is frankly where they belong. Arizona State to the 11. Let Arizona State go to Penn State. And you could move Tennessee to the 10 and move SMU to the 9. Let SMU go to Georgia. Let Tennessee go to Notre Dame. Or you could let Tennessee and Georgia both host, have massive crowds, incredible atmospheres, and they're both going to win. They're not losing at home in those games, my opinion. All right, Tyler says Notre Dame losing to Southern Cal. And if he's right, Notre Dame will fall out. Yeah, Indiana at Georgia, according to Mark, would be a bloodbath. Yeah, I agree. I watched Indiana last week. I was sitting in here. I don't know if you can see. You've seen the setup if you've watched our shows ever before. So I'm watching the ESPN show where I was watching Ole Miss, Florida, and over here where the MPW digital thing is, I was watching Indiana at Ohio State, and I got to see a decent amount of Indiana, and they're not a playoff team. They did not pass the eye test at all. Drew says, I don't understand how Kiffin is thought of as an offensive guru, and this year has been so inconsistent. I'll answer that. When you don't have consistent line play up front, everything else is chaotic on offense. And they did not have good offensive line play. And it wasn't consistent. They had chemistry issues. They had issues. They had injury issues. Offensive lines need time to gel. Theirs didn't have a lot of time. They had to move people around. They lost a tackle. They lost a guard. They had to shuffle people around. And they were not good in run blocking. They did not have dominant running backs. They were not good at run blocking. And in these SEC games, with the exception of a couple of them, they never got consistent. So they blitzed Arkansas. But if you think about the rest of SEC play, who do they dominate offensively? Not Kentucky. Had a pretty good day against South Carolina. Left a lot of points on the table. Had some moments against LSU. Struggled for a first half against Oklahoma. Blew out Arkansas. Just almost had 700 yards of offense against Arkansas. But Arkansas's, I think, dead last or next to dead last in pass defense in the SEC. Had a good offensive game, but not great against Georgia. But now nobody has a great game against Georgia offensively. And then Florida. They had a pretty solid offensive day. Had a trouble establishing the run. Leading rusher was the quarterback. So, I mean, it's hard to be elite offensively if your running game can't get established. Jonathan says, yeah, I'll get to Jonathan's comment in a moment. Tyler's maybe saying this better than I did. They don't move anyone up front, and that's part of the job description. They're fairly good in pass pro. Did a pretty good job of keeping the pocket fairly clean most of the time, but they never moved anybody. And so you get in these games. We talked about this a year ago. Last season, maybe it was offensive line, maybe it was Judkins, maybe it was some combination thereof. But go back and think about Ole Miss's close games a year ago. Tulane, LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, to some degree Auburn, and to an even lesser degree Mississippi State. Consistently, they were able to run the football. move the chains, get the key first down, extend the lead, put games away, prevent big momentum shifts. They won every one of those games last year. Tulane, I think it was tied after 3 quarters. LSU led Ole Miss by 10 in the fourth quarter. Arkansas led Ole Miss by 3 in the fourth quarter. Texas A&M was right there in the fourth quarter. I think Auburn was tied at the half with Ole Miss, and Mississippi State very briefly led in the third quarter, if I recall correctly. If I'm wrong on any of this, I apologize. So current playoff teams by conference, 4 to the Big Ten, 3 to the SEC. The SEC meetings will be a nightmare if this holds, just a nightmare. 2 from the ACC, Miami and SMU. 1 from the Big 12, 1 from the Mountain West as a representative of the group of 5. Jonathan said it appears Ole Miss is going to stay this heavy in the portal. Player evaluations must improve. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, when you go heavy portal, we talked about this a lot. When you go heavy portal, you are also going heavy gambling on culture, gambling on locker room, gambling on buy-in, gambling on guys being as completely dialed in as you want. You are gambling. You're gambling on a lot of stuff, as opposed to when high school kids come in, they usually come in pretty humbled. They usually come in ready to go. They usually come in not ready to play. So it's a balance. There's a reason that I think they're trying to recruit. There's a reason that I think they're trying to recruit as many quality high school players as they can. I think they realize that maybe you can go too heavy portal. I'm guessing portal costs are really expensive. Nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen with the revenue sharing thing, when that's going to kick in, how much it's going to be, how much extra NIL you need. Big thanks to PTG Brandon, who's been awesome for us at MPW Digital over the course of the last several months since he joined in as a pillar sponsor for us on McCready and Siskey. He says, just started watching. Ole Miss needs a new OC. So I will say this. I don't know what's going on with Charlie Weiss Jr. in the Florida Atlantic job. I don't know. Someone told me recently that they thought he was pretty far ahead in that search. I have not had time this week. I will have time in the coming days to dig into that, to see what's up. I do think if you follow Lane Kiffin's path with coaches in the past, no matter what happens, even if the football gods smile upon Ole Miss on Friday and Saturday and everything works out and they leapfrog into the playoff, I don't think there's much doubt, Brandon, at all, that he is going to take a long look at what they're doing offensively, at what they did in terms of eval, schematics, their inability to run the football consistently, everything. There's no doubt in my mind. If you look at what he's done in the past when it hasn't worked, Lane Kiffin is a incredibly competitive person. This is if Saturday doesn't go as well as they need it to go, and let's face it, it probably won't. It's going to be a really, really bitter pill for him and others to swallow. The month of December is going to be humbling. They're going to go into an off season of what could have been. That's tough. But that's what's going to happen. They're going to go into an off season of what could have been, what probably should have been. And at some point in that, they're going to have to evaluate why. And then you make tough decisions. The hard part for that is that you don't have a lot of time to make changes because you need everybody kind of settled for the portal, because you're trying to get into the portal. I think it opens December the 8th. Chase said the 9th this morning. I think he's off a day, but it doesn't matter. 8th, 9th. They're going to get super busy with portal stuff. They're going to have a bowl to, quote, prepare for, end quote. You're going to have to deal with opt-outs. You're going to have to deal with people on your roster getting in the portal and going. It's going to be a chaotic month that is always going to be tinged and under the undercurrent of what could have been. December the 20th, December the 21st are going to be painful days in that building. No one's going to want to be in that building. They're going to wrap up this recruiting high school class on December, 4th, 5th, somewhere in there. And then they're going to turn their attention to the portal. They're going to have to accept the bowl bid to somewhere. I don't know where. I'm responding to Caroline. Yes. They're going to have a lot of things to address. And always in the background of this is going to be those on-campus games. And they're going to watch them and think that should have been us. It's fair. And a lot of times that reflection, that introspection will lead to change. I need my glasses to read this. I'm getting old and it's late in the day. Willis says, at some point, got to admit the offense has regressed consistently since he's been here, and he's got to get a real OC in. I mean, again, that's kind of what we were talking about. I mean, he's got to evaluate it for sure. Jonathan says, is going to a bowl more valuable than the coaches being on the road and recruiting? Does a bowl help recruiting currently? I have no idea. I mean, in the past, I think bowls helped. Now I don't know that you take bowls super seriously if you're a program like Ole Miss that is disappointed to be in the bowl. I think the one thing you can do with the bowl, LSU did this a year ago. It's not the best example, but they did. When Jaden Daniels opted out, they built the bowl game around Nussmeier. Like, hey, let's see what he can do. Let's treat it like an opportunity to see what he can do. And that led to they played some young guys. Those guys played hard. They played with emotion and stuff, and they won. Does Jackson Dart opt out of a bowl game? I have no idea. No clue. Wouldn't even begin to guess. I wouldn't begin to guess either way. I don't know what his health is. I don't know what his thought process is. In a world where he did, you give Austin Simmons a game and see what he can do. I think the question with Ole Miss and the concern with Ole Miss, I think, as it pertains to a bowl, is Tyler says it's a dead period now. Doesn't matter. December's a dead period, Tyler. After signing, other than the portal visits. Tyler knows all these rules. He works in that world with QuickU. I don't know all of these rules. These were rules, I should say. Probably should know them, but I don't. It's changed so fast that I don't really know. But what I was saying about Ole Miss is, I mean, a lot of their older guys would have. You're not on camera. You can come get it. A lot of their older guys would, have decisions to make. Do you play the bowl game? Do you get that last NIL check? Does your agent cover you and say, "Hey, don't go get hurt in a bowl game. Let's get healthy. Let's work out. Let's get in tip-top shape. Let's get ready for the Senior Bowl. Let's get ready for the Combine, the Shrine Bowl, the Hula Bowl, the whatever bowl." Those would be the questions you'd have to ask them. I don't know those answers, and it would probably be different for different people. But it might make it, and again, this might be hyperbolic, but it might make it difficult to truly field a competitive team. But probably not. Chase is probably right at the number of opt-outs. I think he said 5 was the over-under. It's probably about right. I mean, you can pretty much name the guys that it would make sense for them to opt out. And then some other guys would just have to decide if that's what they wanted to do. But again, it would be a bitter pill. Willis says the RPO doesn't work without a run game. I'd be calling Thornton back from Auburn, telling him to figure out my run game. I'd be shocked if Thornton came back from Auburn. Stunned. Speechless. Don't see that happening. Brandon, will you have to travel to the bowl game? I don't know. See where it is. when it is. I mean, if it's like the Music City Bowl, it's an easy decision. Sure, you just drive up and cover the game, talk to some people. If it's Tampa or Jacksonville, I mean, I'll be transparent. It's where somebody wants to sponsor your bowl trip, where you're not draining your travel budget for something. Sure, you go cover it. Maybe there might be some insightful stuff that is garnered from the bowl site. You might get to cover a game where it's the Austin Simmons show. I don't know. Might have an opportunity to talk to some people and get a feel for what's going on from a bowl site, but it's nothing like a year ago where going to the Peach Bowl, even though the game was, quote, meaningless, end quote, it felt important and people were super excited to be there and it was a big party. That's not going to be the case this time. It's going to be disappointing if this falls the way that it appears it will likely fall. Yeah, I mean, Jackson Dart would make sense. Princely would make sense. Nolan would make sense. Trey Amos would make sense. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to justify those guys playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl. You really would. I mean, I can't imagine anybody criticizing those guys for going, "Hey, I've got to protect myself." You know, some other guys like Watkins and Priestcorn and people like that. I don't. They might hurt themselves by opting out. But those guys that if you've got a first, second round grade, you got to think pretty hard about putting yourself at risk weeks before the combine, weeks before the Senior Bowl, things of that nature. You'd have to really think about it. I don't know whether they're locked in on players at running back, Willie. I just don't know. Or Will Hawk, I should say. I can't see very well. Does Lane need to hire an? I don't know. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know enough about scheme to talk about what he should hire or not. I have no clue. And I'm not comfortable speculating on what changes, if any, will be made on the offensive side of the ball. I just think they'll have to really reevaluate. They'll have to talk about it because had they just been a little bit better, a little bit more consistent in the running game, they're probably 11-1. They're probably going to Atlanta to play Texas or Texas A&M in the SEC title game. They're probably a win over one of those teams in Atlanta from going to the Sugar Bowl as a national quarterfinalist. That is a lot to leave on the table to fall short and end up at the ReliaQuest or the Tax Slayer or the Music City. That is a lot. You have no choice when that happens but to take a good, long, thorough look in the mirror. And that may or may not lead to change. It may or may not lead to personnel change. I don't know. Let's see. Tupelo. Do you sort of compare Ole Miss right now to where Georgia was towards the end of the Mark Richt era? No, because it was such a completely different era in college football. I don't think I don't think so. I think next year's year 2 of an era. I don't think you can do a lot of comparisons. And I think you also have to be careful not to overreact. You have to remember how close you are to being 11-1, 12-0. You have no close wins. Every win was by double digits. Every single one. And the one Friday will be by double digits. So you won 9 double-digit games. You went to South Carolina and won by 24, I think. You went to Fayetteville and won by 32. I mean, Arkansas is bad, but they're not that bad. I mean, nobody else has beaten them by 32 points. You played Georgia and beat them by 18. Nobody's done that. Nobody's done that in years. So you're doing some things well. So you have to be careful that you don't overreact to a couple of 4th down conversions, one by Kentucky, one by LSU. Credit to them. Those plays count. They got it done. But if you make a stop on either one of those two plays, you're in the playoffs. You make a stop on both of those plays, you're in the SEC title game. Now, it doesn't work like that. Again, you have to be careful that you don't underreact and say, oh, well, we're so close we should not even look at anything. We were right there. We just got bad luck. No, that would be a mistake. But it would also be a mistake to completely overreact. It'd be like you have a burn on your arm and so you just cut it off at the shoulder. That's stupid. So you do have to figure out where you are. And they're going to have time, and it's going to be easy to sit around and feel sorry for yourself for a little while. And frankly, I would recommend that they do it for a few days. And then after that, you got to get to work. Got to figure out where you are and how you get better. If you like college basketball, this is going to be a really good game. Kansas, Duke in Las Vegas at T-Mobile, which is the home of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the NHL team. Tyler, I think, might still be in the stream. We went to a game there. It was phenomenal. Let's see. What did I miss? Thanksgiving food power rankings. Yeah, we can talk about food in a minute. Team last year went 11-2. This year felt closer to 11-1, 12-0. I agree. I mean, last year was 11-2 with a bunch of close wins. This year's going to be 10-2. 9-3 with a bunch of close losses. I think this year's team would beat last year's team. I think last year's team had better chemistry culture than this year's team. So you're looking for a balance. I hate it for some of the older guys on this team that have been through a lot. 3 years, some of them 5 years, 4 years. A lot of talent. And they just got close. Close sucks. I'm not prepared to say this team was mentally fragile under pressure this year. I'm not willing to do that. That's getting into territory that I'm not comfortable with because I'm not inside the building. No, Craig, I did not watch Memphis UConn yesterday. I was working. Caleb Odom addition. Yeah, I mean, his name's out there, but I don't know what that. I don't know anything about. I really have not dug into portal yet. There's a few names that are flying around. I don't know how true they are. Pine Belt says NHL hockey is the most underrated pro sport live. I agree. If you haven't watched Cooper Flag, number 2 with Duke, you should. He's going to be probably the first pick in the draft, no later than the second pick in the draft, assuming health. Can really do everything. I always love the hot takes on guys like him when they first come in, and it takes them a minute to, or they have a weird game, and people forget that they're 18, and they're like, oh, they're overrated. You're like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. Flags can't miss. I mean, he does everything well. His game translates incredibly well to the NBA because of his size, his length, his shooting ability, basketball IQ, the whole thing. All right, again, the phone lines are open. If you want to call, I'm not going to stay super late tonight. Wanted to make sure that we got a show, though, on a week like this one. Tyler and I talked about doing it, but I've had some stuff going on this week with Carson, my son. So it's kind of changed my schedule a little bit. And got to follow up tomorrow, so don't really know exactly what my schedule is. I can tell you that there's an MPW Digital Extra coming your way tomorrow. Brett Norsworthy joined. Ryan Brown from the next round. Taylor McGregor from Marquee Network. She's part of the Cubs broadcast, along with Boog Shambi, Jim DeShays. She was great. ESPN Sideline Report. She'll be in Nashville for Tennessee Vanderbilt on Saturday. Talk to her and Ben Mintz, Barstool Sports, who's joined each and every week all year on MPW Digital Extra. Hey, who do we have?
Hey, it's Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, what's up, man?
Man, not too much. I was just calling in. Hey, What do you think the crowd's going to be like at Vaught Hemingway this weekend?
Probably mid-50s, right? I mean, it's going to be nice weather. It's going to be a little cool, but it's going to be nice weather. It's I think people will still,
Yeah,
I think people will go and support the seniors and say goodbye to a lot of the guys that have meant so much to that program. But obviously, man, it's not going to have the. It was going to be a party. It was going to be a coronation. It was going to be jumping, and I don't think you'll see that on Saturday. I think it'll be a little more subdued, probably.
yeah. So I had tickets. I've been trying to give them away. I couldn't give them away, so me and my wife, we are going. I mean, whenever you can't give tickets away, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see 50. But I don't know how many thousands less are going to be there. But it's all because of the expectations.
Sure.
And hey, if you give us this, we're going to build this, and then they will come. Hell, they've been coming. We've been giving. It's on the damn coaching staff at this point to get people there. It ain't on the players.
Yeah, no.
And
look, I mean, he would be advised. He would be advised not to make a snarky jab about attendance if it's not great. He would be advised to just swallow that one.
Yeah, I don't see how this is a good ordeal at this point. But hey, look, don't get me wrong, love Kiffin, but I'll take Cisco over him at this point.
Well, you got to remember now, this is the one thing, I mean, you see this in the league and you see it all over the league. That the one thing that happened this year that got obvious is that it was very hard to win on the road in the SEC. And I think it's
100%.
The stat is the 7 teams in the SEC that are ranked in the AP Top 25 this week. So you're talking about Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Missouri. Those 7 teams, pretty good teams, all. Those 7 teams collectively, their road record, they're a game over 500. I mean, it is hard to win on the league. Hard to win on the road. I mean, Ole Miss lost twice on the road. Tennessee lost at Arkansas. They still have to go to Vanderbilt. Alabama lost twice on the road. Georgia lost twice on the road at Alabama, at Ole Miss. South Carolina lost at Alabama. South Carolina actually lost 2 home games. That's what's killing them. You give them one of the 2 home games, and they're in. I mean, that LSU game that they just blew that day with the stupid call and the dumb block on
we can all talk about, hey, look, everybody can talk about penalties and everything like that. And I do understand that the calls this year, but anyways, yeah, you can keep going with, look, I understand. Yeah. It's hard to win on the road.
Yeah.
But whenever you lose to Kentucky at home.
That's the one. That's it. That's the one.
That's it. Game. There you go.
It's that game. It's not.
Check mark, your ass is out.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if you're the committee and you're evaluating different teams, there's so much conflicting head-to-head, right? That
it is now that everybody else is lost, and everybody has bad losses. Well, not everybody has really bad losses, but everybody does have a loss that they don't want.
Only 2 teams in the mix have horrible losses. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's a horrible loss. Like, I can tell you that the committee evaluates like the Ole Miss's win over Arkansas, because Arkansas got to 6 wins, is considered a good win. Ole Miss's win over Oklahoma, because Oklahoma got to 6 wins, is considered a good win. But man, Kentucky is just, it's brutal. I mean, it's brutal. It's a horrible, horrible loss on your schedule, and it's a weight on them that you simply change that game and make it Ole Miss 20, Kentucky 17, make it an ugly win. Let Caden Davis make that field goal and then win the game in overtime. It's an ugly win, and you're going, oh, woof, but you're in the playoff today.
All right, so this is my whole issue with this whole shit is is that you don't have to even make it an ugly win. This offense has been anemic all year,
Yeah.
besides the damn Arkansas game.
That's it.
Our offense
non-con
under
game,
Charlie Weiss has been bullshit.
the 4 non-con games in Arkansas. That's it. Otherwise, and they'll probably be electric on Friday. They'll light up State. State's awful on defense.
Hey, go back to 2020 and see if we can run the ball, period, inside the 20. In the red zone, see if there's nothing there. Even with Judkins, he couldn't run the damn ball inside the 20 because we bunch every damn thing up. I would like to ask Siski a question on that. Whenever you bunch everything up, can you run up the middle?
Yeah,
you know,
that's a question for
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question.
I mean, it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm pissed off at the coaching staff, not at the players.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, when it's over, sometime probably Sunday, when it becomes obvious that hey, they're not going to get there, if that indeed happens, that introspection has to begin, and it's got to you've got to figure out why you got where you got. Simple as that. You've got to figure it out. You got to take a day or two and feel sorry for yourself and lick your wounds, and then you got to figure it out.
I reckon we'll figure it out. I'll be up there in Oxford this weekend. If I see you, man, I see you, and it'd be great to meet. If not, then oh well.
Well, I'd love that.
We'll still talk.
Appreciate all you do for us. Thank you.
Anytime, brother.
All right. We'll wrap it up there. That's a good call. If you guys call, I'll stay. If there's no calls, we'll let it roll. Hey, caller, who's this?
Neal, this is Rodney from Ripley. How are you?
Rodney, how are you, sir?
Well, I gotta tell you, all the years following my boys, the Rebels, Saturday at about 3:00, it was the lowest I've ever felt. And I've been watching for a lot of years. I thought 03 was bad. Don't even come close to this feeling.
No, this is worse than 03 because even in 03 had Ole Miss beaten LSU that day, they weren't winning the national championship. They'd already lost to Memphis. They'd already lost to Texas Tech, if I recall correctly. So,
that's right.
They would have gone to the SEC championship game and probably won it and gotten an SEC title, and that would have been huge for the program, but would have gotten to the Sugar Bowl, and that would have been awesome for the program and Eli and all of that stuff, but they weren't in the national championship mix.
No. Well, 4th and 25, it's a lot worse than that.
Yeah, even if you convert 4th and 25, you're probably still not in the national championship mix. Maybe.
Right. But
that team had already lost to Memphis, right? So that team already had like a weird wart that was going to be difficult to overcome in a 4-team playoff. Maybe they would have made it, maybe not. I don't know, but it wouldn't have been a clean path like Ole Miss was about to have.
But you're right. But back in that era, we was just trying to get to the title game, if you remember.
Yeah.
Just trying to get to the West title game.
Yeah, you're trying to
get
to Atlanta.
We had it. We had it all sitting in front of us. We just, as a program, we got to just start. We got to live up to the moment in the future. I believe in this coaching staff. I truly do. I believe we can get it done. We just got to stick together, keep going. I felt really bad for Jackson Dart Saturday afternoon because he was trying his ass off.
He was. There's no lack of effort on his part. I mean, he's given that program.
And the defense too. I thought they have fought good all year. We just had some trouble in the line. I think we should have kept Judkins. He might have been a disruptive force. I don't know. He might have messed up the chemistry, but he used to grind out some yards. I remember last year that Mississippi State game, he pulled us through.
Yeah. had what 34 carries or something like that against Penn State. I mean, he was a big part of what they did. I mean, they rode him. Now he has not been effective for Ohio State really this year, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how effective he would have been behind this particular offensive line, and I don't know how frustrated he would have gotten behind this offensive line, and how much that frustration would have spilled into the locker room and created,
more problems.
More problems, and there was, there were definitely some.
I just hate it and I felt bad for Harris, getting injured again. I mean, and I still ain't got over it. Oh my God. And I'm just hoping they can get something happen. You never know in this crazy game of football, just like the boy at A&M in fourth overtime dropped that ball the other night, and Alabama lost the other night. And maybe some more things happen. Maybe we can backdoor in there. Hey, I ain't even seen the rankings tonight.
Ole Miss is 14th, Rodney.
Oh my gosh.
So
is there any way, Neal, you see it?
I mean, I'll paint you a scenario, and I mean you can decide how likely you think this is.
I don't think Alabama's losing.
Well, for you to get there, they probably have to.
Damn.
You have to win. Probably Alabama has to lose to Auburn. Tennessee probably has to lose to Vanderbilt.
I do believe Vanderbilt could beat them. I truly do.
USC would have to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, we need that.
That would get you.
Surely they wouldn't put South Carolina over us, would they? Over us if they beat Clemson.
You probably would want to take your chances and have South Carolina beat Clemson. But you probably you need Alabama to lose. You need Tennessee to lose. You need Notre Dame to lose.
What about A&M? If they lost to Texas, that would knock them out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything. That doesn't move you up. That just solidifies. It solidifies Texas. That game doesn't mean anything to Ole Miss fans as much as they probably think it should or shouldn't. That's probably it, man. I mean, you got to have those 3 games. I mean, you benefit from Purdue beating Indiana, but they're a 30-point dog. That's probably not happening.
Where's that game at?
I don't know. I think it's in Bloomington, but it might be in West Lafayette. But it doesn't matter. I mean,
it doesn't matter. The only time I can think of Auburn winning over there when they had Cam Newton.
Yeah, I mean Auburn could beat Alabama. It could. I mean Vanderbilt could beat Tennessee. Notre Dame could lose to USC. But when you need all 3 of those things to happen, and then you need probably something else, that's a hell of a tall order. I mean, it could happen. I mean, but it's not likely. I mean, if you're –
that Kentucky game killed us this year.
Yeah. Yes, that is a fact.
God, that 4th and 7. I can't.
I mean, not only that, just the fumble, the Harris. You're up. I don't remember the
I know it.
Or Ole Miss was up a score and they were driving to go up 2 scores, which would have put it away, and Harris fumbled. That was a big play. I mean, look, if you're looking for the game to, drink your sorrows away to, it's not Florida. Florida played pretty well the other day.
They did.
It's not even LSU, even though I think sometimes the whole Death Valley thing's a little overrated, but Nussmeier made some really big throws in that game. The game that ought to just haunt you, and it will, is Kentucky.
It's Kentucky. Like I said, I believe the fans, and I think Keith Carter's done a tremendous job. I just think Lane's done a tremendous job. We just need to stick together. We don't need to try to break it, try to do nothing drastic. Let's just keep trying to bring in good players and high school and the portal, and we'll get there one day. We don't need to break it all up, all this stuff.
The other one.
I believe we can.
The other one you need is Syracuse over Miami. That would help you quite a bit. And that could happen.
Yeah.
So you probably the 4 game parlay that you need to hit on money line is you need Auburn to beat Alabama. Vanderbilt to beat Tennessee, Southern Cal to beat Notre Dame, and Syracuse to beat Miami. If those 4 things happened, and assuming you beat Mississippi State, of course, that'd probably do it. Sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Siri was listening in. Yeah, those you probably need that quartet.
Where's that Miami Syracuse game?
It's in Syracuse.
Good, and I think that's it. Notre Dame's got to go to Southern Cal, right?
Yeah, they got to go there. Yep. Tennessee.
It's tough to play it on the road in the SEC. I hope it can pass over to these other conferences.
But you need Auburn to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. They could.
Think about it. If we had won Saturday, we'd have been having just a great week going into Thanksgiving.
If you'd won Saturday, you'd be a win over Mississippi State away from hosting a game. And that's the reality.
Oh, Neal, don't pour salt in. God.
Had you beaten Kentucky, you'd still probably be – I think had you beaten Kentucky and then still lost to Florida, you'd be like kind of where Tennessee is right now, sort of on the cusp of hosting. You might be the 9. You might have to go on the road, but you'd be in the tournament.
Right. I fully expect next year Austin Simmons to be our quarterback. But if I was Kiffin, you're going to have to bring in another quarterback, just to keep up competition.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to figure out where you're putting your money. I mean, if he's your guy, you got to spend your money elsewhere. You can't go spend a bunch of money to bring in a backup quarterback. They did that with Spencer Sanders, and that was a disaster.
Well, I mean, it's good to have just in case some injury or something.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, but I mean that's
bank, of course.
You have AJ Maddox already. I mean, if you can find somebody who comes in knowing they'll be a backup and cool with being a backup and being, maybe a 5th-year guy who wants to be a coach and wants to spend a year with Kiffin, sure. But if you're going out and dropping $500,000 on a backup quarterback, you're wasting your money.
No, not that much. Not that much money.
I mean, quarterbacks are going for like $1 million right now. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, everybody keeps going, just go buy this and go buy that and go buy. Not you, Rodney, but everybody's doing this. Hey, everybody else is raising money too, and if everybody else has rev share, this is where this thing's going to get interesting because a lot of these schools they have a lot of donor fatigue. They don't want to keep asking donors for money. They really don't. They don't want to do it. And so, if you have rev share and maybe you're going to go, hey, instead of us having to raise $15 million, let's raise $5 million. Right? Let's settle down. And so evals are going to become more important. Development is going to become more important. Chemistry, culture is going to become more important. So
culture.
The paradigm is going to shift a little bit, I think.
I do, and I really truly believe we need to invest in bringing in good defensive players. I enjoyed having a good defense to rely on.
Yeah,
we need to keep that up going forward.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try. I mean, everybody else is too. I mean, it's. But look, Ole Miss has put itself in a position where, from a portal standpoint, they're an elite program, and so they have to try to do it again, and you have to reload, and you just have to try to get as many evals as you can correct, and again, they were super close this year. They just, as of this moment, it doesn't appear that they're going to quite get there, and
just barely missed it, man. I had a feeling it might happen like this.
Well, hey,
but anyway,
Rodney, appreciate you.
You too, Neal. You have a good one, brother.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it there. Thanks for all the calls. I appreciate everybody again. Wrapping up Ole Miss 14th in the latest college football playoff ranking. So need a lot of help. Got to beat Mississippi State on Friday, and then get a lot of help. And crazier things have happened. It's a crazy sport. I wouldn't bet on it, but all right. Oh, you're gone. Okay. Well, he didn't answer. So anyway, that's it for me. Thanks to our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Appreciate them so much. Wraps up our show. I'll put this in podcast form as a Blue Sky Live. I think Chase and I are going to do something in the morning. All right, caller, you're the last one.
Hey, Neal.
Hey, who's this?
One thing this is Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
One thing that had been mentioned a lot, and I think it has to do, I know Iskey said it has to do with how he's always been, but I kind of disagree. You kind of changed your team, and I think it played probably a pretty big deal both games, is how he handles, and he's done this for a while, calling timeout at the end of halves when another team's had the ball, even if you're going to only get the ball for like 30 seconds left. He did it with Kentucky. It was obvious that they was trying to settle for a field goal. They let time run. He called timeout. So they ended up getting a touchdown. That was another 4-point swing.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then
they did it at LSU.
Yeah,
it hurt him at LSU.
Yeah. Like they was just trying to get down, get a field goal, and he kept calling timeout, and then they had a turnover, and that was another 3 points. Both at the end of the day, good points.
But you know what though? In both of those situations, in real time, I didn't think anything of it. I thought.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I was questioning why.
But you know, here's the thing with if you're laying though, right? Is that maybe you gotta self scout. You gotta watch your own film. You gotta figure it out. But you gotta be careful that you don't completely change who you are. Because think about it. I'll give you an example. Okay. If you go conservative, remember last year, it was about 12 minutes left in the game. Arkansas had just driven down the field in Oxford and taken the lead. It was an impressive drive, if you go back and remember it. I don't remember. It was like 8, 9, 10 plays, 75 yards, efficient, ran the ball, threw the ball, took a lead. Ole Miss got the ball back, and we're facing a 4th and 1. It's a long one, if I recall correctly, at their own 34. Everything in conventional wisdom says punt. Billy Napier punted in a similar situation the other day. What if you punt there? I mean, who knows, right? Let's play the hypothetical out. What if you punt there? And Arkansas has offensive momentum, and they drive down the field and score again. And you lose at home to Arkansas. Crush the season. It's not what he did. On 4th and a long one, at basically his own 33.5, 34, they ran the football with Quinshon Judkins and converted, drove down the field, scored, and ultimately won the game. I don't remember the final score of that game. Ole Miss won by 10 maybe? But Arkansas led with 12 minutes to go. And so when that play happened with Judkins converting the 4th down, it was probably 10.5 to go. Let's play out the other hypothetical. Let's say Judkins gets stopped. Someone from Arkansas makes a defensive play. Chris Paul makes the play. He was playing for Arkansas then. Chris Paul makes the stop. Arkansas inherits a short field, drives 33 yards, touchdown, boom, it's over. Everyone is questioning Lane Kiffin. Oh, my God, what were you doing going for it there? There were still 12 minutes left, blah, 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 right? So as a coach, you got to be comfortable with your identity. You have to be comfortable with your identity. And his identity is kind of, hey, we do the analytics, we go for it, we're aggressive. So, I mean, should he reevaluate him? Sure. But you got to be, again, I'm back to the thing about being careful not to overreact. You broke your finger. That doesn't mean you cut off the whole hand. It means you fix the finger. You got to be careful with not underreacting and not overreacting. And there's a middle ground, and it's hard. Look, it's a hard league. It's a league full of good programs. I mean, it's a league full of good programs, really good programs. It's a league full of really good coaches. It's a league full of really good coaching staffs. It's a league full of good facilities. It's a league full of fans that are bought in. I mean, Taylor McGregor and I were talking about this today. She's with ESPN, and she's covered a bunch of games. And she was talking about just the atmosphere at different places and the atmosphere in Norman the other night. I don't know if you watched it. I've heard from a lot of Ole Miss people that they didn't watch any more football after Saturday's game.
Yeah.
But if you watched in Norman the other night, Oklahoma was 5-5 going into that game. Alabama comes to town, and man, that place was crazy. It was packed. They had it going on. A week earlier, if you watched Florida LSU, as darkness fell in Central Florida that night, that place was packed, man. It was like the swamp of old. I was telling Taylor today, I kept, I was wearing an Apple Watch in Baton Rouge, and I went down to the field with 5-6 minutes to go, and my Apple Watch just over and over kept pinging me going, it's too loud, too many decibels, you need to get to a quieter place, you're exposed to too much loudness. It was so loud you could hardly think. And I told her at Ole Miss when Ole Miss played Georgia a few weeks ago, I went down to the field, 5-6 minutes left. Ole Miss the party was starting. Everybody was kind of nervous, but I mean, Ole Miss had it, and man, that place was loud. I mean, it was so loud. It was the first time that I could remember at Ole Miss in a long time where I was like, man, this place is LSU loud. This place is Tennessee loud. And you have that all over the league. It's hard. This is a hard league. The margin between winning and losing is often slim. And so you have to be super careful that you don't overreact and that you don't underreact. A year ago, it would have been super easy for Lane Kiffin and them to be like, we went into Athens, we ran into a buzzsaw, and that place was crazy, and it was lit, and it was loud, and Georgia was really good, and they jumped on us, but we're right there. Instead, he said, no, we got to get a lot bigger, we got to get a lot longer on offense, on defense. Well, they addressed a lot of the defensive things clearly, right? They addressed a lot of the things on defense. They just didn't address the offense appropriately. They tried, but they clearly misevaluated on a lot of spots. And so they've got to go back and see what they did wrong. But I do think Ole Miss is close, and I think you have to be super careful that you don't make some sweeping change where you take an unnecessary step back.
I'm not saying.
Yeah. Oh, I know you're not. Yeah.
I would say on that is it's a little bit in 21, 22, 23 team is that the defense sometimes is bad, a lot of times is average, and at times good. Just a little more play into your team because this defense was good all year. They was elite most of the time, but really good all year. And it's more so play into your team and so much changing yourself. I'm not even saying you should change yourself because,
you know what I would have
probably don't
in an alternate world where Caden Davis, instead of missing that first field goal, if he makes it, does Lane, instead of going for it on the 2 4th downs in the red zone, does he just take field goals? Because if he'd made it and then you make those 2 field goals, that's 9 points. And I realize it doesn't work like this. I totally get it that Billy and the staff at Florida would have made different decisions if the score had been different. So I totally understand that. But just for kicks and giggles, if you give Ole Miss those 9 points and they win the game, do they go, hey, this is the way we play, right? We want to score touchdowns, but we take field goals. Even though that's not Lane's DNA. It's what he did against Georgia. But in that game, Caden didn't miss any kicks. He missed that first kick against Florida, and I just wonder if it affected his decision making.
Yeah, Florida really only had 2 drives on that defense. From a lot of it, they had the one drive with the muff punt, and it was a short field. But besides that, they had 2 drives. The rest of it, they pretty much just shut Florida down.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it, brother. You have a good night, man.
You too, man.
I think.
Big thanks to PTG Brandon. Again, great show. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that very much. He says Kiffin either needs to coach the offense or get a new OC. I'm paying for bullshit offense, and I'm tired of that. Yeah, he's got a decision to make as it pertains to offense. It's his side of the ball that has held them back this year. not the defense. They have a defense that's national championship caliber. They have an offense that's not. The offense was stretched really thin the other day when Harris went down. You had Watkins with the hamstring, and I think Caden Lee's playing a little hurt. Dart's got an ankle injury. You've got some offensive line issues. So it all happened on that side of the ball, and you've got to figure out if that's coincidence or if that's because of something you're doing. Should make for an interesting few weeks in the offseason. So again, Ole Miss, Mississippi State in Oxford on Friday, 2:30. We'll have coverage at rebelgrove.com. We'll have post-game show here at MPW Digital presented by Realtree. So until then, actually we'll have shows tomorrow, but we'll be back for that one on Friday. So until tomorrow, take care.